This video tutorial unpacks assignment number 2 for EDST618. And so what I've done is I've condensed some of the elements in the rubrics. I haven't changed them. I've just put forward a format that should give you a clear framework with which to develop your assignment number 2. The submission date for this is 11:55 p.m. on Sunday the 27th of May. I'm happy to obviously consider extensions on this. Just be mindful that the unit needs to be wrapped up by sort of the last week of June, and so that will need to include marking time as well. But I'm happy to consider extensions into June for this to ensure that you have enough time to complete the task. So the task is a research proposal report in the format of a digital story. So here you've got the two elements. You've got the research proposal and you've got the digital story. And I'll explain how those things combine now. So your task at hand is to choose an issue related to the use of digital technologies for learning in your teaching and/or learning environment. Research the issue and propose an implementation solution. Share your proposed solution with others in your teaching and/or learning environment and gather their feedback to inform your proposal. Finalize your ideas for a solution to the issue and present them as a digital story. You are to demonstrate your skills with contemporary learning tools whilst working with colleagues to resolve an issue related to contemporary learning in your learning environment. So in that last section there, you're really not only showing your skills at being able to identify and resolve the issue, but you're also showing your skills as an advocate and leader within the effective use of digital technologies in the school environment. So in the rubric there are 7 criteria, and this is my suggestion as to how you address those, or rather what needs to be addressed, and then momentarily I'll show you how you might go about doing that. So you need to have a very short proposal, and when you look at the rubric, that's it details what you need to put into there, and it needs to be short and succinct. So this is almost like an abstract. So it's the first thing that your reader is going to read, and when you're writing research, when you're developing research, really what you do is you say what you're going to say, then you say it, and then you say what you've said. And that happens within a chapter or within sections of chapter. It sounds a bit crazy, but it once you've done it, it makes sense. So that's say what you're going to say, which is the proposal. Say what you're going to say, or say what you're going to say it, and then say what you've said. So your proposal in this case is your succinct, informative introduction. You then want to elaborate on some of that information. So you want to put forward your choice of the issue related to digital technologies and your description of that choice. Okay, so this is you building upon what you mentioned in the proposal, and you're putting it into a more coherent, informative piece of writing. Also, and that's criteria 2 and criterion 3 on the rubric. Then what you want to do is put forward a short literature review. So this literature review will refer to the issue that you've identified, okay? And you're looking to see if there's any contemporary writing out there that addresses this particular issue. And I would, bear in mind you've got 2,750 words. It doesn't need to be an extensive one, okay? So it needs to be, it needs to be informative. It needs to be interesting. You want to try and see if you can identify a gap in the literature, and I'm certainly happy to look at drafts of your literature review if that would help. So that's kind of like the third section. So we start off with the proposal, then we've got a more in-depth description of the issue at hand. Then you've got the literature that supports the identification of that particular issue. And then you develop your strategy for addressing the issue. And so this is criteria number 5. And what I've done here is given you 3 subcategories, sub-criteria about how you might address this particular criterion. And so it's about the proposed implementation solution. It's the way that you gather and respond to peer feedback, and it's the way you develop the final solution. Then embedded within all of those first 5 criteria, you've got the technical quality, design, and professional expertise of your product, as well as the expertise of your digital story. So they are the 7 criteria that appear in your rubric. In order to facilitate the peer review section, okay, I have put up onto Leo in the sign up groups, which you can find from the menu on the left hand side, I have put up sort of peer review sign up groups. There's 2 members per group. So if you want to work with a colleague at ACU, so if you want to work with a colleague within the EDST618 unit, this is the process you will need to use. If you're going to be working with a colleague outside ACU, you don't need to join one of these groups. So part of the assignment is that you gather feedback from a peer, and you yourself will also be one of those peers giving feedback to a colleague on their implementation solution. And so by signing into this group, you identify who your peer is going to be. And I'd like you to do that by the end of week 9 if you're planning to use a student in an EDST618 for your peer feedback. So again, go into the unit, look on the left-hand side in the menu, and click on sign up groups. And there are groups in there. You'll see there are 10 groups of 2 students in there. You need to self-select, and what I would do in order to expedite this process is, rather than just one person clicking group 1, the next person clicking group 2, start from the top. So fill in group 1 first, fill in group 2 second. So if you see a spare spot in a group, join it, okay? Because that will mean that we are able to expedite this process and ensure that we all get ample feedback in ample time. Remember that the peer review aspect is an important part of the assignment task, so you do need to do this, and I'd like you to sign into that group by the end of week 9. As I've already said, if you're going to ask non-ACU colleagues to review your work, that's perfect, that's great, but I would be grateful if you could just let me know via email so I know that you're on track. I have set up a feedback template. You don't need to use it, but it might be a start for you. Okay, so you can use that template once you've developed your proposed implementation solution. You can use that template to gather feedback from your peer. And if you go into the assessment module, you can you'll locate the link to that particular template. As I said, it's just a suggestion. Please feel free to amend it or change it, or completely change it if you wish to. So when you're developing your digital story, so when you're actually putting together the information to deliver, the thing you're going to submit, this is how I think you should do it. So remembering that the use of technology and the digital story are sort of embedded within the whole product. Okay, so they don't need to be addressed separately in the assignment task. You want to start off with your proposal. Then you want a more elaborated description of your chosen issue related to digital technologies for learning. Then you want to have a section that is about your review of literature. And then the more sort of I suppose the bigger section is going to be the strategy for addressing the issue. And in there will be your proposed implementation solution. Then there will be evidence of the data gathered from your peer, and I would say that you could do that in tabulated form. And then there will be your finalized implementation solution with clear evidence that it's been informed by peer feedback. And then there would be a conclusion to it. So this is not the actual delivery of the research project itself, it is a proposal for the delivery of an implementation solution. But on this slide that you can see at the moment, that is how I would structure it, and I would have those as separate headings, and certainly under the strategy for addressing the issue, have those three as, you know, proposed implementation solution, data gathered, and finalized solution as subheadings. And that'll present a really succinct, easy to read, professional format for the task. Then interweaving and underpinning the whole thing is going to be how you use technology and how you deliver your digital story. And what you want to do is find a format that is engaging and easy to use, and and when I say easy to use, I mean, you know, it's easy to navigate and your reader can go through it quickly. I'm quite into Adobe Spark at the moment. Adobe Spark is free, and it just produces these really lovely sort of promotional websites in a way, so you might want to have a look at that. You could use Weebly, you could use the various functions within the Google suite, but again, the choice is yours. But I would keep it simple. So in the case of something like this, simple and chic is probably the best way to go forward. So I hope that helps overall. That the key things are to get involved with the peer group. Okay, so find your peer ASAP, and negotiate with your peer when you're actually going to be able to provide feedback, and make sure you get that done by the end of week 9. Actually join the group, and let me know via email if you've got any questions about the assignment or what you might need some help with. Okay, speak to you soon.